Hello, everyone. Welcome again to my channel, Eddie's Bias, aka Eddie Nomadic. And today I have a special guest live on my YouTube channel, Mr. Robbie Clark. Say hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
So we're here in Dallas, Fort Worth,
Yeah,
actually.
don't do that.
Yeah,
We're
sorry.
in Fort Worth. Damn it.
We're in Fort Worth. For those of you guys watching at home right now, full disclaimer, I know sometimes I got kids on the show that like to watch my channel, but kids, if you guys are watching, this is not a family-friendly
I
kind of
w-
podcast. You're
I
two
will
friends that are
I will
making
do my
content.
best to censor myself because I like the thing about what we're gonna talk about is that it's really about free thought and thinking for yourself, and
And we get excited when it comes to this
and we
topic in
do
general.
we do because this what we're talking about today is a really passionate issue for at least me personally.
And me as well. I mean, actually, the first film that got introduced to this whole talk that we're going to go over was what sparked me into getting more into filmmaking. And my cousin was the one who's a big pop culture nerd and helped me kind of basically educate myself on filmmaking and pop culture. So I got introduced to all the Back to the Futures and Jurassic Parks and all the comic book. My first comic book that I read, by the way, was The Death of Gwen Stacy, the
Oh
graphic
shit!
novel.
Shoot!
So that
I
was
almost I
like
almost just
I don't care.
yeah.
That was
I
like
care.
my number one comic book that I first read, and that was like a big shocker for me. So I'm going
You
through
just
the.
completely
I'm
undid
going. I'm
the.
going through and creating a live chat. I'm using my phone, by the way, and a mobile pre duo setup with Robbie's SM48s and some headsets to go through this. So it's pretty exciting. You can pretty much do anything with your phone nowadays. So make it pretty quick. So Robbie, introduce yourself to the fans. Let them know what you do. I know we recorded a lot of content today.
Yes, we have. It's been a really productive day. My name is Robbie Clark. I run a podcast called So Close to Greatness. I also have my Instagram and Facebook under the same name. I also have I am Robbie Clark on Facebook and Instagram. I like to create. My main goal in life is to entertain, inspire, and encourage. So everything I do, I basically try to have maybe like a little crass around the edges with like the humor and the language, but the end goal is always to leave the world a better place. That's just how I personally go about doing it.
And you guys should listen to the podcast that he did, So Close to Greatness. He'll be posting up later. I'll probably
Actually,
have
ours is going out next week.
next week.
I have one for later this week. Ours is going out next week.
So next week, be on the lookout for that one.
But also be on the lookout this week because
Yeah, he's got
there are
more
a bunch
content.
of bunch of episodes
He's also got 4 questions, which is another
on
kind
YouTube.
of
Yeah.
side YouTube project for So Close to Greatness, the podcast, where you essentially just ask someone in the business 4 questions about what they do and get to know them a little bit.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So one of the things that I do is I like to interview people and ask them kind of what their dreams and aspirations are, and how I guess I come into play and sort of help out if I can help out in any way, shape, or form. But for those of you who don't know, Robbie and I have known each other since 2009.
About 9 years, about a
Yeah,
decade now.
almost a decade. And we went to film school together. Acted in a lot of my projects. Helped shoot, produce, write. Great writer.
Thank
Lots
you.
of fun stuff. Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you. I
cool
appreciate
projects. And now he's doing a lot of getting a lot into acting, creating podcasts, just basically becoming what you would consider a social media kind of content creator. And working your way personality
I guess.
to that.
I never want. I sometimes a content creator doesn't have a personality, and I never want to lose that. I think that's if my personality was a physical feature, it'd be the best physical feature I had over even my hair.
Okay, that works. And his hair's pretty cool.
I have great hair.
I don't know. Mine's purple. So
Yeah, mine's just like just beautiful.
So today we're here to talk to Robbie a little bit about one, the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Yes.
how it has affected you. A lot of the things that I've done in the past, I've made comic books, I've worked with comic books, and I read a lot of comic books all the time. But I've never done like a talk show about comics and movies and how those kind of like collect. I'm sure there's tons out there. Fat Man on Batman being one of my favorite podcasts.
Oh yeah, just
It's
Kevin
great.
Smith
Kevin
in
Smith.
general is just he's somebody I would love to just sit in a room with for hours and be like, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? Kevin Smith is the dude, the dream dude for brain picking.
Yeah.
Just how he made Clerks, his very first movie, up until now, just his wealth of knowledge is just mind blowing.
Well, he's doing a lot of like TV now. He's directed episodes of Flash, episodes of
Yeah.
Supergirl.
Has he done any Arrow?
I don't know if he's directed any Arrow. I think he might have. No, yeah, he hasn't directed any Arrow. I don't think he's been on an Arrow show.
Okay.
But I know that he has recently worked with an artist who did the DC Superhero Girls, and she's got the art illustrated for Hit Girl, which is the Kick-Ass series, and it's a spin-off. It's just Hit Girl,
Yep.
and he's one of the main writers on that comic book that'll be coming out.
Man, he's nonstop, dude. He doesn't rest, I don't think.
I think he rested after his heart attack.
He's rested enough to find time to get back in the gym and lose 50 pounds. Have you seen those new pictures of him?
He's looking great.
He looks great. Not that that's what it's all about, but like he's a
like,
healthier dude,
yeah,
and we get
definitely.
more Kevin Smith in the future because he's that much healthier.
I honestly, like, if I got the message, because we were losing a lot of greats this last year, and if I had the message that Kevin Smith passed away, I don't know what I'd do. I think we did lose, of course, a comic book, I guess, legend or
Steve Ditko, is that who you're talking about?
yeah, that too.
What do you mean that too? He created Doctor
I know.
Strange.
Yes, Ditko was a big loss. I know Stan Lee's no longer doing any signings.
No.
He physically can't sign.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate. But I mean, we've had a lot of losses in the past, so it's
I'll tell you
exciting
what,
to talk about the new things that are coming to play.
Here on YouTube Live, I will say that I cried in the shower when I learned that Chester Bennington killed himself. That guy was such. I don't know if inspiration is the right word because I didn't go into like any similar style of music, but just knowing his demons from the get-go, to how much music he created, how hard he battled to get through what he was getting through, and in the end they just kind of got the best of him. I was so sad.
I mean, we kind of grew up with his music.
Oh yeah,
Like, Linkin Park was
Hybrid Theory was like 99, 2000. It was the best-selling debut album of any band at that time. It's crazy, dude. Like I lost a great inspiration when he took his own life.
And as far as
sad.
like pop culture and lasting in pop culture, I mean, Linkin Park was able to use one of their songs as the Transformers, in the Transformers soundtrack.
What I've Done, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's like that even in all the end credits for the newer Transformers films, they still use that track, like that kind of like music overlay of what I've done in every Optimus Prime outro.
Yeah.
Which is still really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Well, anyways, I brought Robbie today. I'm at Robbie's place to talk a little bit about what he loves to talk about the most, which is the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I do. I really do.
We brought a little bit of drinks, just a little tad bit of tequila to sip on while we talk and enjoy. So a little cheers there. I've been tasting and I'm working as a liquor rep for a new tequila. It's been around since 2012. It's called Rudo Técnico Tequila. So this is one of their bottles, the Técnico Reposado. It's super smooth. We're going to be doing an episode on Agave Warriors, which is another podcast that I do on our channel, talking about tequila with a lot of different wrestlers. But Robbie, let's talk about you, man. So what was like the first ever thing that struck you that got you into filmmaking? Mine being like Iron Man, seeing the first Iron Man, like, wow, this is some new future of comic books and pop culture and movies. What was your first film that really shook you?
The very first film I actually remember seeing in theaters was Ace Ventura: Pet Detective when I was 93. I guess I was 7 years old. And I had a shitty day as a kid, which when you're a kid, like, you don't know pain really. So like a paper cut could have been the worst day of my life.
Right.
But I had a really crappy day as a kid. And I remember leaving the theater with a big old smile on my face. And I remember thinking, like, this is what I want to do with my life. So that got me into acting. That kind of unleashed the performer in me to the point where I went to a Mexican restaurant and I ordered my kid's taco plate through my butt. Like
Literally
Ace
bent
Ventura.
over.
Yeah. It's
style.
like, excuse me, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Like that's what got me into the performing, because the spectacle of that character alone was just so engrossing that I was like, that's what I want to be. So I kind of just kept watching films as a kid. I remember always performing, entertaining for my friends and my family. And I was the first freshman in my high school to get cast in the lead of a play, which is pretty great. And then after high school, I wanted to go straight to Hollywood. My dad and I had a fight about that. And he said, I don't care what you study, you're going to college. And I said, I want to be an actor. I'm not going to college. The fight ended. The next day, he came to me with like some applications for schools, and he says these all have spectacular uh, theater departments. I don't care if you study theater, you're going to college.
Yeah.
So I understand that college isn't for everybody, but my dad at the time, this is back in 2004, 2003, 2004, it was still very much, you go to high school, you go to college. It was the plan for everybody.
Right.
So I did. I wound up getting my BFA in theater performance from UTA, and s- throughout all of that, I wound up just collecting. I mean, I went to the $3.99 bin at Best Buy, and I grabbed shit that I didn't, or I grabbed movies. I'm sorry,
It's all good.
I grabbed movies that I'd never had any interest in, but I sat down and I watched them.
What about like movie trading company? Did you ever go there? I know there was one
Well,
that was like nearby.
those only started
Or
popping up
Entertain Mart.
after the well, okay, so I started college in Tulsa.
Uh-huh.
So I would go to like the Best Buy or the Walmart and hit up like all the bins. And then when I got to UTA, yeah, there was the Entertainment right down the road. I spent hours there.
That was like the
just
mecca
going up and
for-
down the aisles.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of movies up here that have the Entertainment sticker on them that they're like $2.99.
Yep.
And like I think
Entertainment Mart
Match-
was like the best part for
oh
college.
shit, we're running out of battery.
Running out
aren't
of battery on my phone like normal. Yeah.
So yeah, I've basically been, I studied acting, and then the MCU came along in 2008 with Iron Man, and that kind of opened a whole lot of other different doors for me, because it's like, wow, like you can be funny and be a hero. You can, like Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
You can make these mistakes in your past and try to get better, and someone will believe in you enough to say, I don't care what you guys think, he's the right guy for the part. We're casting him regardless. And Robert, he's done for every good thing he's done up until 2008. For every good thing he had done, he had probably done like 3 bad things with the drugs and the drinking and stuff, which I don't condone, by the way. But he finally got that second chance, and now look at him. 10 years later, he's like the spearhead of the greatest experiment in film history. No other studio, no other production company has done basically a TV series
Yeah.
in film format. And it doesn't matter if every character doesn't appear in every episode. All that matters is that it connects, and we're coming up to Avengers 4, which is the season finale of season 1 of the MCU. And Infinity, when was the last time you listened to a band that had been like playing for 20 years and their last album, like their 7th or 8th album, was the best they had done? When was the last time that ever happened to you? Probably almost never, because it just, you rest on your laurels. You slowly become a greatest hits band.
Yeah, you kind of get used to like the flow of everything, and then you.
But Infinity War was the 19th offering from the MCU, and it was the greatest thing, the greatest movie that studio has done. It's in my top 5 favorite of all time.
Yeah.
Because of the storytelling the studio has done. So I loved film and I loved television growing up, and I always wanted to be an actor. And then what happened?
Checking the battery.
Cool.
Going live on the phone. So.
And then the MCU came along, and the first few weren't even connected. It was all in the end credit scene of, because as a comic book fan as a kid, when Iron Man came out, I was like, oh man, it'd be so cool if they did Avengers.
Yeah.
And then I sat through the film and I saw the end credit scene with Nick Fury, and he says, I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. And as soon as that happened, not only did I think, oh my God, we're getting the Avengers, I thought, holy shit, it'd be so great if they did Infinity War. So from 2008, I've been waiting for this movie, for Infinity War.
The other thing too is that I was so curious and excited for Thor, because everything was based off of science, and then you're bringing in like folklore.
You're
into the
like
mix.
bringing in folklore, magic, and religion.
How do you bring that into scientific? And then they go into like cosmos and like wormholes and the science behind all of that. Theoretical physics.
Yeah.
And I was like, boom,
Well,
makes sense.
When you look, like they have different phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 was very introductory. It was all very grounded. Even the first Thor, when you're bringing in a demigod, it's still a very small town in New Mexico.
Yeah.
So they didn't really try to experiment or expand. I kind of think about it in terms of Lost, which is one of my favorite shows. The very first season is very grounded. It's very, the introduction of the monster's noise at the end of the pilot episode was enough to insinuate that something else was going on. And you got that with Thor. You know, there's something else out there. And then you kind of got it. You kind of sort of got it with Captain America because it's a guy from 1945 who's now awake in 2012. Like, things can happen. Things can change on a dime. Things that you can't explain will happen in real life. But the story of Phase 1 is still very, very, very grounded. And then Phase 2, you know, you go from the first Avenger to Winter Soldier, you realize that, oh crap, there are a bunch of other super soldiers out there. And then you are introduced to the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like, oh my God, there's a whole other world out there. And then Age of Ultron, which was... But then, I mean, Phase 3, they really started. It was like Season 4 or Season 5 of Lost when they really started getting into the sci-fi time travel aspect of it.
Right.
Phase 3 of the MCU was Doctor Strange. Phase 2 ended with Ant-Man. Not Age of Ultron, as some people think. Ant-Man was the official end of Phase 2, which introduced the quantum realm, which is crazy. And then you had Guardians Volume 2, which got even farther out there with Ego and a planet. And then Doctor Strange with the multiverse and stuff. Like, Phase 3 got really experimental. And if you notice, and Wakanda, too, and Ragnarok, if you notice, all of the films got more colorful. Like back in Phase 1 and halfway through Phase 2, they were still very earthy. They had darker tones. They had muted tones. And as soon as we get out into space, it's all bright. It's like if Ego was an actual planet and the character himself wasn't such a raging jerk, I would want to visit that planet.
Yeah.
Because it was beautiful.
The one thing that got me too was like, okay, Doctor Strange. I had the opportunity to go to LA, and while I was in LA, they were having the premiere of Doctor Strange at I guess it's the Chinese Theater now.
Chinese Theater, yeah.
Yeah. Used to be called the Grauman's Chinese Theater, but now it's the TLC or something like that. But the Chinese Theater that's there in LA, in Hollywood, premiered Doctor Strange. So I happened
Did
to
you go?
I totally went.
This is over. I don't want to be on your show.
I
don't
was-
want
I
to
was-
share a screen with you ever.
I was jet lagged, so the first night I fell asleep halfway through. But you know what woke me up? So it was not only was it in 3D, not only was it IMAX, it was laser projection. It was the first and only laser projected movie in IMAX, and they showed it at the Chinese Theater. I just happened to look out the same weekend it was open. I missed half of it, but when I woke up to the part when Tilda pushes him into the realm and he falls back, and it's like that whole
the
trippy
astral
scene.
projection.
Yes,
Yeah.
that in 3D laser projection was like, I was zoned in, and everyone erupted.
That'll wake you up.
Everyone erupted and clapped and cheered at the end of that scene.
Well, man, you talk about clapping and cheering. I'm watching. I've seen Infinity War, I think 37 times now.
Checking the battery again.
Sure.
9. Perfect.
Right, 9, cool. I've seen Infinity War like 37 times. 5 of those were in theater, and then as soon as like there's the mini documentary on my Instagram. I cannot get enough of that movie, and it's because the script was so good. The script was good. The direction was good. The actors gave the performances of a lifetime. The colors were amazing. The wardrobe was great. And then it was just the culmination of absolutely everything. So
Well, I think too.
you talk about the audience erupting and roaring. On the director commentary, they said they were listening to a recording from a theater in India. They weren't there. They were listening to a recording. And when Thor, Rocket, and Groot came into Wakanda via Stormbreaker and the Bifrost, they said it was like a rock concert. They said the crowd erupted because a demigod, a tree, and a raccoon joined the fight.
Yeah.
Like that's how do you create that sort of connection with your audience over characters like that?
Takes 10 years.
And it does. And that's what, I don't want to go down to a rabbit hole, but that's what DC has been screwing up with, is that they have not put in the time and patience to establish their shared universe.
Well, I think also that the fault, not to DC, but like they haven't had much luck with their directors because, you know, like life-changing events.
Sure,
has what's
with
caused
Zack
directors.
Snyder.
Zack
Yeah.
Snyder lost his daughter, and then Joss Whedon and, you know, his family, you know, splitting up and having to deal with that while still trying to make Justice League.
I get,
So, like,
and I
that-
get that. I do. And I'm not
And then
unsympathetic
that's like also
to
like
that.
partly directing it. So you have like a film that's also mixed
It's
in between.
three different people and
but
three
I agree with
voices.
you in the sense of they're trying to jump to their Avengers movie without first establishing
Individual characters.
and getting
That's
the
been
heart
my
behind
biggest
it.
argument. Like, I don't, like, Aquaman in Justice League did not do anything. I like the direction they're going with the character.
But I didn't
His
feel anything for him.
character's presence in that film did nothing for me because
Right.
now I know he's just an aquaholic badass who says "yeah" or "my man" or like he
Throws in
didn't
one of the
offer
line-liners.
anything to the film.
Yeah.
And now we're getting his solo film in December, and I'm just kind of not. It looks like Black Panther in a bathtub, is all it looks like to me, with the role of Black Panther and Killmonger reversed.
It's kind of like that in a
But
way. Like they're
it's similar. It's similar enough for me to be like,
then
I
again,
don't really care.
then again, origins of comic books, DC and Marvel were pretty much the same
Right,
thing
right,
back
right.
in 50s and 60s.
But let's also look at. I mean, The Mummy with Tom Cruise was supposed to be Universal's dark
The
universe.
yeah, and they killed that.
And it killed it with one movie because they're going into it with this gigantic ass plan.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't know that Iron Man was an experiment. Iron Man, if that movie failed, I think either Marvel or Marvel Studios, I can't remember which one, they would have lost their intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been Marvel Studios because if that movie had flopped, they would have had to forfeit everything they could have made a movie with to pay back
And
the
now
loan or whatever.
Sony is cashing in on all of the characters that they have rights to in the Spider-Man universe.
But
so
if-
they've come out with Venom.
Which is going to be amazing.
And
It
then
looks like we're finally going to get a proper Venom.
Yes,
Finally.
and then Sinister Six.
Eddie Brock.
after that,
Topher Grace.
I
Damn
know.
it.
When I
Still
saw that,
unforgivable.
I'm super happy that Tom Hardy is Brock instead of seeing Topher Grace, because like in the cartoon and in the comic books, Eddie Brock didn't look like a scrawny little kid.
Yeah.
He was a big built dude, and
Yeah.
then when you have the symbiote take over his body, it makes him even extremely larger. So I'm super
I
happy
have
to
a
get Tom
cat
Hardy.
pawing at my back right now.
Oh, the cat's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving forward real quick, I wanted to ask you.
Hey, kitty.
I mean, as far as your journey, so MCU has a big impact on your life. And you can
MC
see all the stuff behind us.
I'll
Everything is like Marvel Cinematic Universe.
As far as my dream goes, I keep almost shooting myself in the foot because I want to do like the DC and the Dark Universe thing. And every time I sit down to write something, I think of a bigger picture. Like
Right.
I think of
Well, do you work your way macro and then come back, like work backwards? That's how I work sometimes.
No, I don't, because I always try to start as small as I can with the scripts that I write, because it needs to be filmed on a very small budget.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost a budget of zero. Like what I have at my disposal
Just make content that
is
way.
all I have to do.
Right.
So I always try to start small, but I always wind up thinking, man, what if this in this first season was like, I have an outline for a TV show for 6 seasons. And, like I keep bringing up Lost, but, they got lost in the, Lost got lost in the 3rd season because they had nowhere to go. And the first half of the 3rd season really sucks because they keep opening doors and not going through them.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, halfway through production of the 3rd season, the showrunners and the writers went to ABC and they said, we need an end date because we have a story to tell and we're losing ourselves. So they set the end date as like May 6th, 2010 or something like that. And the second half of season 3 is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then season 4 is great, and season 5 is great. And I argue, and tooth and nail I will do this, that the series finale, while it might have been a little underwhelming, it was perfect for what the show had become.
Yeah, I thought it was. I mean,
I
as
thought it
far
was a great series finale. And
That's-
I've argued that so many times.
It makes you go back and watch every single episode in a different perspective.
I want to
From
say this.
multiple ways if you watch Lost again.
Yes, it does. And I got, when Sam and I started dating, we sat down and we watched Lost, and I said, "You have to
Start with this one."
You cannot go to the restroom. Well, you have to see this part
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it plays in eventually." I want to say this right now: they were not dead the entire time. Christian Shepherd tells Jack at the back of the church, everything that happened to you was real. He said, I'm real, you're real, the people out there are real, everything happened to you was real. The time you spent on the island was the most important part of your life. Christian says that. So for people to come away from that series finale and be like, oh my God, they were dead the whole time, it's like, no! No, they weren't. So go just rewatch the series finale again and really listen to Christian's. Also, talking about me and my dreams and my writing, I want to write something as great as Christian Shepherd's monologue at the end of Lost.
Okay.
That to me is because it's succinct, but it ties up 6 years of production, and it sums up 6 years of fictional existence so perfectly. And every time I get to that point in the episode, I legitimately cry. I do. I cry a lot at movies and TV
Well, of
shows
course, like
because
like I cried at Infinity War. I mean, for crying out loud, like I
Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. Shut up, Peter Parker.
yeah,
I'm not ready.
exactly.
I'm not ready for this right now.
But like, I mean, in personal life, like I didn't really start like dating. You know, I found a girlfriend, and then we went to go see Infinity War as like our first date, really. But like, really feeling like in love with someone, and watching movies, not ever having actually felt that in real life. You know, like being in love with someone or having you know, that kind of infatuation with someone, and seeing that in Infinity War after I already having felt it, it changed everything for me in that movie. I felt so hard for both Thanos. Like
God, yeah,
yeah, and that's weird to have like the major, you know, big baddie of the
Well,
whole film, and then to want him to succeed in some way, shape, or form.
I will tell you this right now that when you think of the word protagonist, and I did this on my podcast, on my friend's podcast. This has been my biggest argument against Thanos being a villain. Is yes, they chose because his actions affect us as people. He views it as mercy. That's the biggest distinction.
Right.
Most villains are out for the chaos. Most villains are out just to see people die. Thanos does not kill anybody unless they become a direct threat to his mission.
Right.
And I mean, Captain America's done that. In Civil War, how many people did Captain America did he kill to bring those Hydra ships down? In Civil War, how many more people did he kill to make sure Bucky was safe?
Right.
In Iron Man, in Iron Man 3, how many people did he kill at Killian's compound in order to save the president and make sure that Pepper was safe? Every hero is someone else's villain. And the fact that Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely and the Russo brothers decided to tell Infinity War from the villain's side, they chose to make him sympathetic. They chose to give him that amount of screen time to tell that story because we know every other character. If you look at it, nobody has time to rest. Everyone is Peter Parker from the bus is sucked right in. T'Challa is sucked in, given the arm to the White Wolf because they know that everyone else is coming. Thor was just there at the end of Ragnarok. You know, like Tony Stark is the only one and Doctor Strange are basically the only ones that are doing something else before they get sucked in.
Yeah.
So they made it a point to show us the villains getting together to stop the hero. And when you think about the term protagonist, the word pro makes it sound positive.
Yeah.
But a protagonist is the chief advocate of a particular campaign. They're the champion of a certain idea. And an antagonist, it has nothing to do with being bad. It's just they oppose the primary idea. So when you think about how Infinity War was laid out, it's really genius because the villain to us, because Thanos technically, in the scope of that film, threatens our lives.
Right.
With the snap, I could dust and you could not. So they chose to make him the hero. What are we at?
5%.
Oh shit, we're not even going to cover everything today.
We're gonna charge it and then come back and do a part 2.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So they chose to make Thanos the hero, and my mom texted me after she saw it. She's like, "I don't like when evil wins," and I was like, "Well, technically,
Yeah.
evil didn't win because this is and they say why couldn't he just snap his fingers and double the resources? Well, the world doesn't work that way.
Right.
It's overpopulation. It's getting overcrowded. That is the problem, and the more we consume, the doubling of the resources is in 5 years it's going to be quartered. So. And also, he was told no on Titan. So now, when what he thought was going to happen to Titan actually happened, now he's like this holy warrior. He says, I was told no, but I was right. Now I have to make this a thing. So Thanos is technically the hero of Infinity War. That's why at the end it says Thanos will return.
Yeah.
That it doesn't say the Avengers will return. It doesn't say everyone sucked in the Soul Stone will return. It says Thanos will return. And that's why, to circle around to like the main theme, the MCU has opened up an entirely different dynamic of storytelling to me. And I've always wondered, like, well, what did the Joker do in The Dark Knight off screen?
Right.
And that's all we saw in Infinity War. It was like everything that the villain was doing, like with Gamora, is off screen to what's happening in Wakanda.
In the real world, yeah.
So they got they got it. They created a film that really, when you think about it, everything under the sun is not new. Everything was done by the Greeks and the Romans and, ancient theater and stuff like that. Every story has been told. This is a story that has not been told for a very, very, very long time. And it opens up the reason why I'm such an obsessive fan of the MCU is because it's opened up different avenues of storytelling. It's opened up different avenues of grace for actors who have had bad pasts and are trying to make themselves better. It's opened up a new narrative where you don't have to sit and watch Lost per season to see all these characters intermingling. You have to watch phase 1 where they have their individual installments, and then you get to Avengers, and after that, everyone's in everyone's movie.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, why did Doctor Strange have to be in Ragnarok? Why? Well, first off, numbnuts. They're setting it up for Infinity War, and they want to show that he's become a prominent sorcerer in his time away. But also because I was reading infamous Iron Man just this morning, and Doctor Strange shows up to battle the devil with Victor Von Doom as Iron Man. So they're always in each other's situations. Why should the movies be any different? Now, what I will say is that I am kind of worried that we're getting to a point where you cannot have an origin story that is focused on just one character.
Right. You kind of introduce multiple characters in one way.
Or you have to have an introduction of a new character with an old character.
Yeah.
That and that kind of sort of bothers me, but also if they do it like they did in Civil War, we got Black Panther's entire origin story in a sentence to Black Widow. And we got Spider-Man in a really spectacular introductory scene. And, I'm really tired. I don't want to see the spider bite anybody. I don't want to see Uncle Ben die. I don't want to see another fight with Flash in the hallway.
He was just already...
Yeah, he was just there. He was already there. And the same with the Black Panthers. He was already Black Panther. So if they could find a way to do that, introduce somebody in another movie and then
without
give them
without having to do the whole backstory, basically.
Don't do an origin movie. Do a solo movie. If you can find a line of dialogue that perfectly sums up the character, do that and then give him a solo movie. And I think Black Panther was better off for that because we don't need to know
all the history
how he became Black Panther.
Right.
We didn't need that. We didn't need to know. I mean, we got to see it because Killmonger got the herb and all that stuff. We got to see it, but we didn't need to know it. That just helped move the story along for, T'Challa to destroy Eric or Killmonger or whatever his name was. But the MCU to me has been kind of just it has been an experiment from the get-go. And as soon as they decided, well, we're going to do Iron Man 2, we're going to do Thor, and we're going to do Captain America, and then we're doing Avengers, it was like, okay, then give me Infinity War.
Yeah.
Once the experiment goes,
it's got to go all the way.
It has to go all the way. And they keep saying they have 20 movies planned for the next 6 years or something like that. I'm cool with that. People are like, oh,
I've got an outline.
Superhero fad.
I've got an outline written for one of the Marvel characters for the MCU, and hopefully, I don't know how to submit it, but definitely have an outline for one specific character, which we'll probably talk about on our break.
Is it Fantastic Four?
No.
Because I'll be Johnny Storm. I'll do it.
It'd make a pretty good Johnny Storm.
I work out every day.
I
would be a great
Check his
Johnny
Instagram.
Storm.
He's posting
I
photos
post in my Facebook. I say funny things about working out because it sucks.
We're gonna pause real quick, take a short break, and then we'll be back on in a little bit. Again, my name is Eddie Tobias, aka Eddie Nomadic. I'm here with Robbie Clark from So Close to Greatness and Four Questions on YouTube. Check it out. Follow him online. We'll see you guys real soon.
Real soon we'll see you.